1, a 2, a 1.
It's time for the Better Horses radio show. So let's saddle up and ride as we explore the Western way of life, horses and cows, family and friends, a relationship with the land, and a relationship with God. It's all here on Better Horses Radio. Now let's hit the trails with the Better Horses team.
Welcome to Better Horses Radio. I'm your host, Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And together, we get to talk all about the equine industry. Merle, welcome aboard.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back another week. You know, it's always kind of week to week. So,
it's a lot of fun. We go through a lot of disciplines and we talk about ourselves. Your boarding barn's doing well. I know you're doing a lot of training now. You're getting ready for the Color Breed Congress that's coming in November in Tulsa.
Yes, that's one of everybody's favorite. And of course, we're going to be down there again this year.
You know, while everybody's cleaning out their barns and they're riding horses, they're looking for a good radio show and driving all their horses, a radio show to listen to. I'm going to recommend Better Horses because we have great guests coming on board as we're going to start off with, and Merle, you and I know this, we take horses for granted, but Julie Baker is a founder and executive director of Horses and Heroes, and she's an equine specialist, but she's going to talk to us all about horse disciplines and basically the therapeutic riding that they do for trauma recovery and the use of the equine assisted therapy.
Yeah, that's a great organization. We're next going to hear from Matt Lange, and he is a professional horse trainer and the president of the Kansas Quarter Horse Association. He's a longtime friend, and I'm looking forward to talking to Matt.
You know, he's a professional horse trainer, and I got to tell you, he comes in with some great added tips that we can have when we're training our horses. And, let's complement that by going into New York, where Megan Davis, she's a dressage trainer, coach, competitor, and clinician, also winning her gold and silver bronze medalist over there at the USDF. And she's going to talk all about the dressage discipline and everything we have going on in the dressage industry.
Yes, Megan will be fun to interview.
But you know what? As always, let's break it over to our Better Cattle update with Mark Alpel. Mark?
Well, thanks, Ed. Better Cattle a lot of times rests on the shoulders of consumers, and consumers are apparently feeling a bit better about the economy and their financial stability as we head to the end of October. A Federal Reserve rate cut was expected, another one, maybe two more before New Year's, and 2 or 3 during 2025. Now, Barclays Bank, their ag economist, said late last week that a cattle supply recovery will not be complete until mid-2026. And he predicted that beef prices will continue to feel headwinds at the retail counter and that consumers will be looking more at low-priced alternatives. We'll keep an eye on upcoming cold storage reports to see what we do have in storage, and of course this Friday, cattle on feed report as well. We mentioned consumer confidence. University of Michigan puts out a consumer confidence index every month, and it right now is the highest level since mid-May, and roughly 40% above lows that we saw in June of 2022. Now, outdoor grilling season. In probably the last 4 to 6 weeks, football tailgaters are going to keep that happening, but mostly at lower cuts of meat in our view. And then looking at futures, December live cattle over 180 consistently can change attitudes on the futures board. Holding 176 is equally important. Now, that really is a pretty narrow window when you look at it, but that's really the market that we're in right now. November feeder cattle, we think that they can rally above 245, 245 and a half before heavy resistance, and we think they can do that, again, with what we saw here in the last 10 days. And with that, we wish all of you a profitable week ahead.
I agree with Mark. I think the cattle industry is doing really well, and the cattle market and the economics of the cattle market is also doing really well.
Good time to be in cattle.
I think so. So actually, we always look forward to our cattle updates, but let's also go into our horse tip of the week. And Merle, this time we're going to go to our professional farrier right here in Kansas City, Brinks Brewster. Brinks?
This is Brinks Brewster from Kansas City, Missouri. I am a farrier full-time. And the problem we are seeing when I'm out on the job is when a horse gets to moving around or misbehaving, my customers will want to reach their hand up and put their hand and grab a hold of the halter. And that is a number one way to break a finger or lose a finger or break your arm. What I would recommend if you're trying to get a horse to stop moving around on you is to just hold on to the single rope. Don't coil the rope around your hand, and keep the horse facing towards you so it doesn't want to bolt off or run away from you. What I would like you to do is not to make it a habit where you are reaching up into that halter and getting your hand possibly caught. Keep the horse with you so he doesn't run off. And because, like I said, there are multiple injuries that you can withstand getting your hand caught up in there. Worst case scenario, you get your whole hand caught and you get drug or something like that and receive more injuries than just losing a finger or breaking a wrist. This is Better Horses with your tip of the week. I'm Bronz Brewster from Kansas City, Missouri, farrier. Ride safe, be careful with your horses.
You know, I don't think we really appreciate the horse tip of the week, but more importantly, Merle, I like the safety tips that Brinks just brought up.
Safety has got to be priority number one when working around livestock, whether it's cattle or horses. If you're not safe, you're not going to do it long.
You know, I think the guy told me the only time we're going to get hurt is when we believe we know it all and we take these horses for granted. And that's the only time we have to really look out for what we're doing.
I agree.
You know, coming up, I want everybody to stay with Better Horses. We got some great lineup coming your way. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we're going to take a quick break right after these messages.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
Routine dental examination and treatments are essential for high-quality horse care. To prevent potential problems, a horse's mouth should be examined at least once a year. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins, Equine Field Service Veterinarian at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. We can examine the mouth and provide a treatment plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
And welcome back to Better Horses. As we always promise, this is going to be an informative type show. And more importantly, I'm excited about having this next guest, which is brought to you by Kleinschmidt's Western Wear. And if you've ever looked about gearing up for the cowboy season, boy, this is the place to go. Since 1969, Kleinschmidt's Western Wear, located in Higginsville, Missouri. You can check them out at kleinboot.com. Hey, Merle, I got to tell you, now we're going to talk about something that I think is really exciting. And this is going to be Julie Baker. And she's going to be coming to us from the founder of Horses and Heroes. And she's the executive director. She's a certified equine specialist. She's also spent time in the military. And we get to talk about something that's very important, and that's about mental health. So let's bring her on board. Julie, thank you for joining Better Horses.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Merle. Thank you, Better Horses, for having me on today. So our story is full of just some really great history, and I'll try to abbreviate but not lose any of the emphasis. So going back to about 2013, now, little correction, I was a spouse of a military Marine Corps active duty for 14 years. So I didn't actually serve myself. But so with that in mind, I started rescuing horses kind of by mistake when I was about 12. I was showing an Arabian and just little local shows. And then my mom announced that she found me another horse. So I was really excited to meet him. And the first day I met him, I was really aghast because he was literally a skeleton. and he had physical wounds on his back legs of being beaten. When I went to approach him, I couldn't get close to him. I got within 5 feet, and he just broke out into sweat and was trembling. And I thought, oh my gosh, as a little 12-year-old, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? So intuitively, I was like, well, he needs to gain trust and know that I'm not going to hurt him. And he needs to do it on his own time, So one day I could maybe take 2 steps closer, and the next day I had to take 3 steps back. And I really just got really good at reading his body language and what he was comfortable with doing. So fast forward, he and I developed a great relationship. I had him all through high school. When I moved away to go to college, I sold him, but that experience really stuck with me. And so a lot later in life, again, I spent 14 years in active duty. And when we moved here to Kansas City, I was working a corporate job, and I was just like, gosh, this corporate job has wonderful benefits and I couldn't ask for more. However, I'm not fulfilled. I feel like there's something out there that I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't know what it is. But my mind would keep going back to that experience of rescuing that traumatized horse. And I was like, gosh, at this point, I had a big heart for transitioning military families because we were transitioning. We had a suicide in our family. And, the struggles are real when you have a military family used to one lifestyle and then they're automatically just put out into the civilian world. There's a lot of tangible struggles that happen. And so I was like, it would be really, really great if I could rescue horses and help military families, but I didn't know how to bring these 2 things together. And so one day I was sitting on my couch and I just had this audible, go Google it. And I didn't even know what to Google. I was like, okay, well, how about equine therapy? And I typed in that term, and up popped this global organization that's been doing this type of work for 20 years. Like, who knew? So when I started reading their website, I became more and more excited, and it just had a moment of clarity. It was like somebody snapped their fingers and they said, horses and heroes. You're going to serve military families. You're going to rescue horses, and it's going to be a nonprofit. I was just like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? So I didn't question it, though. I wrote down Horses and Heroes on my napkin. I went right into the corporate website to get the website and get the corporate entity set up. And my husband got home from a trip that weekend. He goes, what'd you do this weekend? Well, I started a nonprofit. He's like, what in the world? So again, fast forward a lot of years. We've been doing this now 10 years this year. Literally, people show up when I need people to show up that know things I don't know. I'm still very much on a learning curve, even after a decade of doing this work. But the gist of our work is we do provide mental health services at no cost to military and first responder families. And we do it through using our rescued horses who have similar traumas, have similar backgrounds. And through the witness of those horses' stories, the people find hope in their own stories. They can relate to the fact that, gosh, I felt like I was discarded too, when they found out that horse was sent to the slaughter pipeline because it was medically retired. And so there's a lot of commonalities that happen. You guys know your horse people. Horses are highly intuitive. They're hardwired to survival. They rely on each other for their survival. So it's a very community and connected network. So for a lot of our clients who come to us, their coping behaviors are isolation. They don't connect with other people, which just exacerbates the problem. And so when they come together with our team and our programming, which is they get several weeks of no cost programming, they do find those connections that they've lost. They find the trust that they've lost. And those are paramount for their healing journey to start on their own time. So that's kind of the history of Horses and Heroes. We're happy. We're celebrating now our 10th year. We're having a gala next month in celebration of that. And so I'm going to open up the floor for questions.
Yeah, I think that's great. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Julie Baker, founder of Horses and Heroes. And this is basically a trauma recovery for equine assisted therapy. Merle, I would suggest that, you and I deal with horses every day. I don't think we really appreciate the fact that we get to deal with them every day. And there are people that rely on these type of vehicles to really get their mental health, at a level that we just take for granted.
Yes. And Julie, why do you think the horses are particularly effective with veterans and first responders?
Well, for a couple reasons. Physiologically, there's been a lot of research done. So horses' brains are designed by nature to have an enlarged amygdala, and that's what really triggers our fight or flight response. So with their enlarged amygdala, they're hyper focused on their environment. They're reactive to their environment, but they do it in a very calm manner. They only react if their survival is, necessitating we need to run or we need to fight. People, however, when they are exposed to trauma and they become hypervigilant, they don't know how to turn that off. So when they come to our program, we get to help them create some tools through observing the horses. Of you see what happened there in the environment. The horses checked in with one another. They concluded that no, it's not a threat, and they went back to what they were doing. And often they do that through behaviors of licking and chewing or rolling on the ground or shaking, something to expel that cortisol that's actually pent up in their system, and they're getting their nervous system back to the homeostasis. So for people, they don't know how to do that naturally, so they stay in this hypervigilant state, which causes chronic stress to happen, which exacerbates their mental health issues. The other really important key, what makes horses different, is that they have a very large heart, which is bigger than ours. And again, through research, they've concluded that larger heart actually creates a very strong magnetic field, and that magnetic field drives our nervous system. So when they've concluded about a 10-foot radius of that horse, that stronger magnetic field starts to regulate our nervous system, which means now that, again, we're coming out of that hypervigilant state, our nervous system comes into more, the parasympathetic, which is where we need to be to have peace and happiness in our lives. And so, the horses are, again, just really key for those physiological components. And like I alluded to before, they're a community. Our horses all live together. We have a big barn that's open. They can choose to be in the barn. They can go outside. We have the littles with the bigs, the mares with the geldings. And so with that, we see dynamics happen that really mirror and match our own dynamics with our families and our kids. So again, when the people come out, they're able to identify, well, that horse over there looks like the dad, and that one looks like the mom, and those are the kids. And we start watching the dynamics happen, and just really through observing and asking questions of, what do you think those horses are doing over there? The client then is able to bring up their interpretation of what's going on, and their interpretation is rooted in their trauma.
And what's interesting is you take about 60 to 90 minutes when you're typically looking at a session to discuss the treatment goals for everybody out there for horses before they're ever interacting with horses. And Horses and Heroes has licensed practitioners and certified coaches, but you're also moving into children and not just necessarily military people with PTSD, correct?
Yes. So probably our youngest client has been 4. We do work with families, again, depending on the dynamics of the family. We have certified clinicians that work pretty much exclusively with adolescents. They do sand tray therapy. They integrate the horses. Again, it's a great way to have people talk about what's going on without them talking about themselves. They're talking about the horses. So again, that's a really great tool for externalizing their emotions, because they're observing what the horses are doing, and they're like, oh, that's just like me and my best friend, or that's just like me and my mom and dad. And so again, it's a safer way for people to open up. And horses are intuitive, and I kid you not, they do some things sometimes that we cannot explain. There's some behaviors that come out, and the people look at us and they're like, how did you train that horse to do that? And we're like, we don't train them to do anything. They're just doing what they naturally do. But they do some things that I could tell you guys stories that will just blow your mind.
Yeah, we see it every day. And we are talking to Julie Baker, founder of Horses and Heroes. Julie, if people wanted to get a hold of you or get in touch with Horses and Heroes, what's the best way to contact you?
Well, multiple ways. We have a Facebook page. Our website is horsesandheroes, all spelled out.org. Our direct phone number is 913-210-5678. Any of those will reach us directly.
We can't thank you enough for joining us on this show. And also, we know that you take on horses that are necessarily maybe too old or just needs a home. So I think that's something else people to consider. Julie Baker, founder of Horses and Heroes, be sure to check her out. And Julie, want to thank you for joining us and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Hey, Merle, we got some more Better Horses coming your way. I want everybody to stay with us. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after these words from our sponsor. And welcome back to Better Horses Radio. This segment provided you by Heritage Tractor, providing all your John Deere tractor needs in Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and all your construction and lawn and garden needs. Check out heritagetractor.com. Hey, Merle, I got to tell you now, coming on board, we get to talk about all the talent in Kansas, and we've got a major talent. The president of the Quarter Horse Association, a guy that that you've actually saw and worked with him on the circuit.
Good friend of mine. We've showed a lot of horses together, and he's shown to me, I've judged, and yeah, more years than I care to admit. I was going back that far, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably been 10 or 15 years. So good to have Matt on. Yeah.
Proud to have him, and let's welcome aboard Matt Lange, from the president of the Quarter Horse Association. Matt, welcome to Better Horses.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, Matt, I know that you are a professional horse trainer, but if you don't mind, I'd like for you to take a minute and talk about your history. And you had a chance to really train with somebody that I think is going down in history as one of the best horse trainers there are, Mr. Dean Smith.
Yep, I grew up in Council Grove and kind of just typical kid, was horse crazy, and got a chance to go to work for Dean into high school to just cleaning stalls and stuff, and wound up training for him for 10 years or so. Amazing guy to learn from.
Now, to set the stage for our nationwide viewers here, Dean Smith was born in 1933, and he won the National Reining Association with Miss Sue Skip, and that was back in 1969. So he's been in the business for a 69. Long time. And Dean, and you got to train under him, and he was considered actually providing one of the top performance horses throughout the 70s and all-around horses.
Yeah, he actually started out in all-around. A lot of people know that he was a cutting horse trainer, but he started out as an all-around and actually showed some English horses years and years, when he very first started. So just a great all-around horseman to learn from. So,
and you took that training and you went right into the horse industry. You didn't look back, and you've been in it your entire career.
Yep. And of course, growing up where we grew up, you get in the ranching and stuff. And gosh, when they started the ranch horse versatility deal, I went, hey, that's my deal. Just growing up where we grew up, and then have a spot to take a ranch horse and actually show him. That's kind of where we've gravitated to now. So,
and Matt, one of the things that I want to talk is getting into your disciplines and the Western riding and the ranch riding. What was the compass that you used when you got into horses on what type of discipline you wanted to get into?
Well, I mean, when you first start, I don't know that you really know. You just, you want to ride horses, and you go to work for a trainer, whoever that might be. And, one of the blessings of working for Dean was, we rode cutters, but we wanted them broke. I mean, not all of them is going to turn out to be a show horse or a cutting horse or a reining horse or a pleasure horse. So if he's just broke, if that rear doesn't work out for him, you can still go ride that horse and do something with him. I guess to me, on the versatility deal, it's just a broke horse. You got to be able to do everything on him. If he's just a cutter, it's pretty hard to go do a ranch rail class with him. Or if he's just a reiner, it's pretty hard to go do a trail pattern on him. So they've got to kind of know how to do everything. And all of them, most horses are going to be better at one thing than the other. Some of them's great at the cow work and going down the fence, and some of them are really good at the trail and ranch riding, but they still need to know how to do all of it. They're all individuals, and they're going to shine at their own deal.
And Matt, that's a really good point you bring up. Is when I'm judging a VRH event, I see, you watch this horse, maybe in the trail or maybe in the ranch riding or maybe in the reining, whatever, and they really shine. And then you watch them, another event, and you're like, well, that wasn't quite so good. You and I have been at this a while. We've seen it from the very beginning. Can you tell our listeners what changes you've seen from its very first inception of the idea to where we are today?
Well, I've tried not to change much, and maybe that's not the thing to do, but I'm not. My theory is if I can't go take him out here on this ranch and use him every day, I don't need to have him in town showing him as a ranch horse. He needs to go specifically be a reiner or whatever. If I can't use him, I don't feel right about showing him on the weekend as a ranch horse. And I've just not changed from that. All the horses that we haul to town, we use them all week. They ship cattle, they sort cattle, they just go check cattle, they go around checking fences. They do something besides get trained on. And I think that probably takes a little longer to make him a show horse. But I think it makes him a lot better show horse in the end. And
I like that. I like that transition from going out there into the fields and using your horse and then moving to the arena. Talk to me about that transition. You're not getting the same horse you had all week when you're out there with the cows and calves out there, and moving into the arena. It's a whole different setting. So talk to me about training and getting your horses prepared for that.
Well, there's definitely a balance on it. You can have one that's just amazing, the best, just your favorite horse to go use all day. And the first time you take him to town, he goes, I don't know what we're doing,
Right.
And
We've
so you're always
there.
finding that balance of where he needs to be. And we've had them the other way that they go to town and they're just awesome there. And you try to ride him across the pasture to go check cows. And, he's like riding an orangutan across there, he just doesn't know how to do it. If I get one in that's that way, I start riding him all the time outside, because if I can't use him, I'm not going to show him. It's supposed to be a ranch horse versatility.
Yeah, it's tough taking especially a young one to getting them off the place the first time or two, and everything seems new. And there's so many different events. Matt, can you tell us, do you have a favorite, or does that vary by horse? Like if the horse's favorite events is, the ranch trail, is that your favorite event on that horse?
A lot of stuff I've won has actually been in the ranch trail and the ranch riding. But personally, my favorites will always be the cut nor the cow horse. When you send one down the fence, that's just an awful good feeling on a one that really likes to do it. And I've been blessed with both types of horses. I showed a buckskin horse for Marty Bloomquist for a long time, and he was just amazing in the ranch riding and the trail. Then Marty brought me another horse that we started showing in the cow horse, and she just eat a cow up going down the fence. She's just amazing to ride. So I guess the answer to that is I like doing whatever that horse likes to do. I don't want to try to make him something he's not. If they're real good at one thing, if they're real good at the cow horse, we're going to make him decent at the trail and the ranch riding.
I like that.
But we're not, and if we have one that's really, really good at the pattern classes, we're going to try to make him okay in the cutting or the cow horse. But it's fun to feel what them horses like to do or not like to do.
And if you're just joining us, we're talking to Matt Lange, professional horse trainer in Kansas. And Matt, one of the questions that we get a lot from our listeners is, at what level, and you're never going to feel comfortable with a horse going right into the arena, going right into competition, but sometimes you just got to go do it, no matter how confident you feel in that horse. What's your measurement for saying this horse is ready, and I'm just going to go ahead and enter this horse into this competition?
Everybody's got a different feeling on that. Some people don't want to take one to town until we know we can win it.
There you go.
And I don't know that you can ever really have one at home, but the first time you haul him to town, he's just going to go win it. I think to some degree, them horses got to be trained going down the road some. Obviously, I don't want to show up with one that's a train wreck and trying to run off or buck you off. I want to have him nice and broke, but we know we're also going to have stuff we've got to work on the first few times we go to town.
I always think I'd get one finished on the trailer.
Yeah. And there's lots of horses. They got started at home. They get finished going down the road.
Yeah.
And this is just a different environment, you can try to set that up at home however you want to set it up, and it's just not ever going to be the same. some horses, and Merle can tell you, some horses handle it wonderful and they surprise you. And the first time they go to town, you're like, whoa, I didn't even feel that. I didn't even expect that much out of him. And he just give it to you. And, the next one, you're like, man, this is a great horse. And you haul him to town the first time and he sees every booger he can possibly find all week,
Yeah. And I've had some that never did make show horses. You haul them and haul them and haul them, and I never cracked them. I mean, eventually you kind of give up. I mean, you're like, okay, this is not your first trip to town and not your first trip in the pen, but they just don't, for some reason, don't do well in that environment.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just a pressure deal with them. And obviously there's three of us on the call here, and all three of us are going to handle pressure in different situations different. They're no different than we are,
sure.
And some of them just can't settle down and just take it,
So with that in mind, we know that you're president of the Kansas Quarter Horse Association. So speaking of events, you have events coming up with this. Tell us what it's like to be president of the Quarter Horse Association and some of the events you have coming up.
Well, I guess the president deal, it's an honor. It's different. Never really got into anything like that before. But we've got a great group of board members and stuff people to help get everything done that needs to be done. Our show coming up is Hope in the Heartland in Topeka. Also having a special event in the middle of that for a ranch horse thing, and that's looking like it's going to have a great turnout, and the show looks like it's going to have a great turnout. Yeah, just kind of a fun crowd up there. Every year we've had it. So
called Hope of the Heartland, September 26th through the 29th. And this is something that's going to be added. It's ranch riding sweepstakes. And there's going to be a show bill available currently right now. And you can get that on KQHA.com. Yep, there you go. It's online. And the Salt City Circuit coming up in October.
Yes, sir.
And that'll be on the 10th and 13th. So you have a lot of events coming in. I think that you invite everybody outside the states to come in and compete. And I think it's going to be actually a really good event all the way around.
Yeah, I believe so. It's looking like it's going to be a good turnout, and hopefully the weather, it's not too hot, and should be a lot of fun.
Matt Lange, president of the Kansas Quarter Horse Association. Matt, if they wanted to get a hold of all the events, I think we just mentioned it on the website at kqha.com. Matt, we want to thank you for joining Better Horses Radio. And we also want to encourage all of our listeners to check out your website and actually go and participate in some of these events. Appreciate all the information you have. Like to have you come up back on board here later on down the road.
Yep, that'd be fine. That sounds great.
Talking to Matt Lange, also professional horse trainer and president of the Kansas Quarter Horse Association. Hey, Merle, we got some more better horses coming our way and a lot of great trainers and professionals coming to give us more education. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan Luter, a specialist in equine performance medicine at the Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Our new service focuses on lameness diagnosis, advanced imaging, physical therapy, and regenerative medicine for horses with injuries preventing them from performing at their best. We can treat a variety of conditions and design a customized rehabilitation plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service, that's our heritage.
Established in 1956, the Pinto Horse Association of America was formed to welcome all types of equines and maintain their show records and pedigrees. PTHA currently has over 88,000 members with 157,000 registered pintos. There are currently 3 separate registries: the Color Registry, the Solid Registry, and the Long Ear Registry. We welcome all levels of competition within a family-friendly environment. Become a member, register, and add value to your horse. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. And we'd also like to thank you for staying with us. And my name's Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And this segment is brought to you by the Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine. And I'll tell you, Merle, we just got through talking about Western riding and versatility, but we can't end this show without talking about dressage. And with us today, a world-famous and professional horse trainer, Megan Davis, is going to come to us from living in Florida, but she's actually talking to us from New York. She's a lady who goes around and really does a lot of great training, coaching, and clinicians. Megan's been riding since she was 5 years old. I want to tell you, even at the age of 11, she earned a distinction of being the youngest rider to represent the USA international competition. She's got a plethora of resume of competing in the dressage arena. Let me welcome everyone from Better Horses. Megan, welcome to Better Horses.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. I'm super excited to chat with you guys today.
Well, we appreciate it. And I do this periodically so that everybody understands the fundamentals of dressage. You've been doing it since you were very young. So for our listening audience who's necessarily not into this vertical, can you kind of walk us through the discipline of dressage?
Well, I like to compare it to ballet on horseback. It looks like the horses are dancing and the riders essentially look as if they're doing nothing. Like a good reining rider looks as if they're just sitting there. We hope for that in the dressage world too. There's a set pattern of movements we have to do in front of anywhere from 1 to 5 judges, depending on the level of competition. And we are scored from 0 to 10, 10 being the best on each movement. And then we're given a percentage at the end of the ride. The goal is to be as high as possible. 100 has never been achieved. We are starting to see 90s within the world competitions, the best of the best. But on your average, you're looking for mid-60s to the low 70s.
You've also showed nationally and international levels, and you've earned your gold and silver and bronze in the USDF medals. Talk to me about actually training horses at the highest level and what type of athleticism this really takes.
Well, from the horses, the horses are complete and utter athletes. They can do moves that they should not do under saddle, including bucking, but they're just so strong. And the big thing that I strive for in my program when I'm training an upper level athlete is happiness. You want your horse to go out and enjoy his job every day. So we try to keep things fresh, whether it be training them outside in a field, training in an indoor arena, in an outdoor, and then, not doing the same thing every day because you'll strain the muscles or the tendons. And we want our horses to stay happy and healthy for a long time.
And Megan, I know you've been in this a long time. I'm always curious to hear about some of the key mentors or experiences that you had that influenced your development as a rider or trainer. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to train with some amazing people. London Gray, she's a 2-time Olympian. Hubertus Schmidt, I went and stayed at his farm in Germany. He is what the Germans call the trainer's trainer. So he helps a lot of the top riders as well as compete himself in several Olympics. He made a big influence on my training, and several others throughout the span of time I've been riding. There's almost too many to name, but those have been two major influences on me.
You know, in 2010, you competed as a young rider in Frankfurt, Germany, and you were the only U.S. rider to finish in the A final, where you placed seventh, which is amazing. Do you still travel internationally, or do you primarily compete on the domestic level?
Right now, we're competing in the U.S. I do have a top Grand Prix horse that the goal is to go and compete at the World Cup in Switzerland in April. So we start our first competition to gain points for that in 2 weeks.
Megan, a lot of people are jumping into the dressage arena. Even the WDAA is getting a lot of entries and getting a lot of excitement on that arena. Do you recommend this for a lot of people? Is this something that you've always used as a discipline, or have you ever ventured out in another area?
I actually was lucky enough to compete in reining for a little bit. I picked it up as sort of a hobby. I had a great cowboy break my young stallion, and he let me ride some of his reiners, and I loved it so much I ended up doing some competition in that world, and they kind of made fun of me because I wore a helmet, but I do not sit on a horse without a helmet anymore.
Now, I noticed you do some clinics also. Like, what do you enjoy most about doing the clinics and working with horses and riders in different settings? Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, I think when you go and teach outside of your normal barn, you encounter some new questions that people are asking or difficulties that horses are struggling with, and they end up teaching you things when you're helping them to get through these issues. And that always inspires me, is helping someone find their way through a tricky spot and come out and feel super successful on the other side.
Yeah. I think sometimes when I find myself giving lessons, that when you can articulate it, it helps to put words to it because you kind of know, but when you start telling somebody else, you're like, oh, wow, that's what that is.
Or you just see from the ground a different point of view rather than being in the saddle, and you're like, okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
And if you just joined us, we're talking to Megan Davis, FEI dressage competitor. She's a trainer. She's a coach and clinician. She made a comment. She said she was the only one who was wearing a helmet. I will tell you, when we watched The Road to the Horse last year, Tick Maynard from Canada, also an eventing and dressage rider, actually, he won the whole thing. So, you got a lot of respect in that area.
Yeah, I think they're becoming more popular. And you know what? We only have one brain, so I think we really should take care of it and wear our helmets. It doesn't matter what brand it is, as long as it's protecting your head. I think it's a great helmet.
We were fortunate enough to have Tick Maynard on Better Horses, and he did make that same comment. He said, I'll be the only guy on a helmet and not a cowboy hat, so you'll be able to see me really easily. So we get that.
Bet.
Megan, looking at the dressage world, let's talk about the levels and the entries into the world and how it scores. Could you kind of introduce the listening audience of how dressage works from a scoring level and how many different levels there are, all the way from the basic, the intro, all to Grand Prix?
So there are the intro level training, first, second, third, fourth, which is all recognized by the United States Dressage Federation. And then you branch into the FEI levels that spans from children's to the Grand Prix. There's ponies, there's juniors, there's young riders, medium tour, and then the large tour, which is Grand Prix. And the USDF recognizes those as well. We can compete in those levels at the US competitions. But when you go and compete internationally, you're competing in the FEI levels. And it's anywhere from 11-year-olds all the way up to, probably 70s. It's one of the great things about dressage is you can do it at any age. It's not like you're in gymnastics. You can't keep doing somersaults because your body gives out. With the horses, you have a body for a long time. So the scoring is based on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the best, 5 being average, or you perform the exercise but not with a lot of we'll say pizzazz or extravagance, which the judges do like to see. And then all the scores are added up, and then they're divided by the maximum amount of points you could earn on that test, and then you get your percentage. The higher the percentage, the better.
And what's great is on these transitions from moving from level 1 to level 2, it prepares the horse for the next level, which I feel that a lot of even the famous trainers, the Western trainers, are saying this is really a good discipline all the way around.
Yeah, it's a great fundamental. Every horse should be doing dressage. I actually flat a lot of hunters and jumpers in the dressage world. It just helps strengthen their core and makes them stronger to go over these, massive jumps that they have to go around.
Really builds up their top line. Hey, Megan, let's talk about your training and your coaching and what you're doing. I know you are based in Florida. You also have a ranch up in New York. Can you walk us through what your training program's like? And if we wanted to get a hold of you, how does somebody get involved with your program?
Sure. I have a 27-acre facility up here in New York. We're here 6 months out of the year, and then we're down in Florida in Loxahatchee the other 6 months. My horses are my family. They're extremely well cared for. I put hands on each horse every single day. We're training 5 days a week. The horses get a hack day, and then they get a day to themselves, whether it be in the paddock or just relaxing in their stall. We let the horses sort of determine what they prefer. Some of them do not like turnout. Some absolutely love it. So we listen to them. And then, the best way to get in contact with me is through my cell phone, 561-398-0475. You're welcome to text or give me a call. I'm generally a pretty easy person to reach, as well as Instagram. It's Megan Davis Dressage.
And Megan, we want to thank you for joining Better Horses. And we can't tell you how much we enjoy conversations of just about the dressage and the competition. And it's so much fun to watch. And I got to tell you, I think it's just building more and more momentum as the industry continues to get bigger.
Yeah, I think we're starting to get a hold of the public's eye, which is nice. It's a fun sport. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to watch if you don't understand what's happening, but with the freestyles where we compete to music, I think the public's definitely getting interested in it.
It's getting more and more popular. Hey, Megan, thank you again for joining Better Horses. We'd love to have you back on the air and tell our listening audience we're going to see you on our TV show. See how I just automatically committed you to that without even asking. So
sounds good.
Megan Davis, everyone, and she's a trainer, coach, and a clinician, and you can check her out also on her Facebook page. So, Merle, this has been a great program, and I tell you what, I love the fact that we get to talk about different type of trainers all the way around.
Yes, we always throw you a curveball, and you never know what's coming next.
Yeah, it is fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Megan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we really appreciate Megan Davis coming on board with us. And just to check her out, Facebook, Megan Davis and Dressage. Merle, I got to tell you, I love the fact that we go from dressage to Western riding, ranch riding, and a lot of great disciplines and a lot of different ways to put that together.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I used to do a lot of pleasure horses before I kind of got into the all around, and I used a lot of dressage movements with the pleasure horses. There's a lot of basis for perfecting a horse's movements within dressage. So I always appreciate, hearing a different point of view.
You'll hear a lot of people talk about their Oldenburgs and the warm bloods going into dressage. I will tell you that even personally, I've done it. The quarter horses play a big role. You can get right up to level 3, level 4 on these quarter horses. And it's just really, really great to see them. As Megan mentioned, it's a great discipline all the way around.
Yeah. And there's a lot of big upcoming shows too this fall. You want to be sure and don't miss this. One of my favorites and one of everybody's favorites, of course, is the Color Breed Congress in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Coming up, and we'll get more information of that show coming as you stay with us. And if you ever want to check us out at our website at betterhorses.com. And if you want to listen to our radio show again, or if you want to go back and listen to other episodes, check us out on our podcast by just typing in Better Horses.
And be sure to look for us in your mailbox too. We'll send you a Better Horses newspaper, and we have episodes coming out 5 times a year. So check us out, and you can drop us a line at our website, and we can get that sent right to your door.
And as I promised Megan Davis coming on our Better Horses TV show on RFD and the Cowboy Channel. I love how I threw that into her. She's going to check us out there. You guys check us out at RFD, the Cowboy Channel, and also our YouTube channel if you want to check out all of our episodes.
And we couldn't close the show without giving a special thanks to the team behind the scenes at Better Horses, our radio producer, Brianna Johnson, and our TV producer, Kelly Creech. And of course, all of our sponsors.
And that wraps it up for this week. Look forward to a new episode every week here on Better Horses. And that we want to tell you, we want you all to be good buckaroos and buckarettes. Mind your mom and dads and be brave, but don't take any chances out there. Until next time, I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
Happy trails, and always ride for the brand.